Alright guys, the time is now for a showdown between the Vampire Coast, who's going to be led by Grumpy Cat atop his scratching post, and the Dark Elves, who are going to be led by Malekith the Witch King atop his mighty Velociraptor. So guys, this is actually a build I've been wanting to try for quite some time, and you can see here we do indeed have the triple Colossus. So we have Count Noctilus on his scratching post here, and then we do have 2 additional Colossus. So these guys are definitely very powerful. Now the main drawback of the Colossus is that when he does run out of ammunition, he's a little bit weak, right? He's very inaccurate in melee, and of course doesn't have the best melee combat stats with 42, 30, and only 400 weapon strength. So a lot of like spearmen and things like that can actually trade pretty effectively with Colossus, especially considering they do have relatively low armor. But when these guys do have ammunition, they're literally unstoppable machines. They can move around, they can shoot while moving. Noctilus can spam summons. They are so damn tough to deal with if they still have ammo. So here's what we're going to be doing. We have the triple Colossus. The rest of our army is basically just chaff, right? It's going to be zombie deckhand mobs. We have a couple of the gunnery mobs. It's basically expendable stuff. The Morgul Haunter, though, is going to be really useful for slowing down threats and peeling Malekith and things like that. So he's definitely a very important pick. The Morgul Haunter, Ronnie Brown, as I like to call him, is an absolute monster. This guy's great in so many different matchups. But here's what we're doing. We have this sneaky Gunnery Wight. So the Gunnery Wight's going to be hiding in the forest for the most part, just lurking. Whenever the Colossus get low on ammo, if it goes to the late game, he's just going to be giving them more powder. And we have 4 charges of this, and I have nothing else on this Gunnery Wight. He costs, I think, 700 if you strip all of his abilities with the exception of more powder. So yeah, he's going to be dropping some more powder on these guys, and it's going to be really tough. I think this is going to be a pretty nasty build for sure. So Zombie Pirate Deckhand mobs, we got a couple halberds in the back here. We got Ronnie Brown, the Morgul Haunter on the low ground, and that is pretty much it. So for my opponent's force, he's got some Witch Elves. He's got a combination of Parganeth Executioner, so it's a well-rounded build, right? Executioners, probably expecting Depth Guard, so they're pretty much a hard counter to that. He's got Witch Elves to try and rampage my big threats. On top of that, he does have a massive force of Dark Riders to harass my back line and my gun line. He's got Malekith the Witch King over here, who Malekith isn't bad. I mean, he does some decent AoE, can clear up chaff. Definitely not a bad choice, and he's pretty powerful in melee as well. On top of that, my opponent has more spears. He went very, very wide here, more Witch Elves, and he does have the triple Harpy. So really, my opponent has a very well-rounded build that he can handle deck droppers, he can handle gun lines with his Dark Riders and his skirmishing capabilities. I mean, he pretty much has the answers for the more typical, I would say, Vampire Coast builds, but nobody ever expects the good old triple Colossi here, and these guys are definitely ready to party. So let's get this show on the road. So immediately I do see these Harganeth Executioners, and I just had a beautiful line of sight down to them, so I'm just going to be unleashing hell with the Colossus. Now that I've had a couple volleys, they're going to start marching forward, and oh man, it is so cool when they march forward and shoot. But anyways, I do see a massive vanguard of the Dark Riders coming around the back. I was like, oh no, they're going to be trying to get on my Colossus. Even though they wouldn't do much, they would tie me up. So I do summon some Zombie Pirate Deckhand mobs to kind of fend those guys off using the Captain Roth's Moondial. And I do a little bit of chasing with the Colossus just to kind of send them a message and send them home. But they're going to be diving into the back line, and unfortunately, they do discover my Gunnery Wight here in the forest. So I was like, no, the jig is up. I was actually hoping I could hide him the entire battle and just kind of keep him back there and troll with him, but alas, my opponent has found him. So Malekith is going to be charging in here, and the Morgul Haunter is going to be going in to intercept him. You can see it's crawling in. It does have that chilling aura, and this thing is such a monster of a duelist. It actually has a lot more HP than Malekith as well. So here comes the Gaze of Malice from Malekith on my Gunnery mob, which is going to hit pretty damn hard. So very, very good cast there for my opponent, able to cleave those guys asunder. And he does get in with Malekith, but I have halberds here. I have Ronnie. Ronnie's going to be coming in with the overhand pimp hand, and it does lower him down to 44 speed, which is very powerful. So the Dark Elves are advancing from this formation. The Harganeth Executioners and the Bleak Swords all pouring in and just massacring my Zombie Pirate Deckhand mobs. Down here, my pole arms as well as my gun line is being taken apart by the Harpies, and a good rear charge from the Dark Riders. So this part of the formation going very well, but that's really just a bit of a distraction Carnifex, right? The Colossus are the real threat. So they are just stomping around the battlefield, just blasting things as they go, just doing a ton of damage. I mean, there are a few answers to them on the battlefield. For example, Malekith could do pretty well. The Spearmen, if he's able to rampage them with the Witch Elves, that could actually be really bad if I, get kind of pinned there. But Malekith taking a ton of damage, so Grumpy Cat's going to be going in there with Ronnie Brown, and they're going to try and 2v1 him. In the meantime, the other 2 Colossus are going to be going and trying to secure this back line here, and tear out these Bleak Swords and just cause all kinds of problems. And something else that's pretty cool is I did summon some Zombie Pirate Gunnery mobs back here to shoot them in the back, but my opponent, very well played, he just attaches these Dread Spears from the main fight, starts chasing me, so he's able to kind of screen that out. So I kind of noticed that. If you take a look at the battlefield, now this is a really good tactic with Vampire Coast, who can place roadblocks very easily with summons. Take a look at the battlefield every now and then, and I just knew I lost it over here. I was like, okay, this side of the battlefield's done for. They're just getting trash canned. There's too many Dark Elves. So what I'm going to do is I notice, I'm like, hey, look at this big juicy opening over here. So I'm going to be moving all 3 Colossus, reforming my ranks to form a bit of a wall. And now I have kind of a new back line, right? So we're going to be trying to do that in just a moment. Ronnie Brown is going to continue to fight Malekith. He's doing pretty good work. And Count Noctilus is also fighting there as well. But the Witch Elves are rapidly tearing apart my halberds. Of course, the Dark Elf infantry very strong. But something else that's going pretty well is I do have the good old Gunnery Wight. He's just, oh, this guy's just such a hero. Look at him just running. But he's going to be running up and around to try and give my guys more powder. As far as ammo goes, Count Noctilus is full because I already gave him 1 charge of the extra powder. The other 2 Colossus are a little bit low, so the Gunnery Wight's going to have to scurry past Malekith, which is a little bit scary. And you can see my opponent actually notices, and he's coming in with the Velociraptor. But thankfully, I do have a Morgul Haunter nearby who's going to kind of come over and help. And Count Noctilus is going to be intercepting as well. So more powder going down, putting him back up to full ammunition, which is so brutal. And you can see the bounce of power is shifting in my favor a little bit, like right as I did that powder, because ammunition does count towards the bounce of power, if I'm not mistaken. So Malekith is going to be running here. The Chilling Aura is slowing these guys down, but that does not matter for the Witch Elves. They're angry. They are coming for that Morgul Haunter, Ronnie Brown there, and they're going to probably be able to rampage him, which is a little bit scary. So the 3 Colossus, just like I was kind of telling you guys, I formed a bit of a new battle line. So the Dark Elf Force was very, powerful here, but I was able to stop them on this side. So I just formed a new firing line. The Colossus just shooting in, unleashing hell on the blobs of these Dark Elf infantry as they do kind of pour through. The Dark Riders do come in as well, but they take a cannonball directly to the face, and they're definitely not immune to psychology, so these guys could be routed off very quickly here. Count Noctilus is going to be falling back. The Gunnery Wight is here, and he actually hits pretty hard with his rifle here. He does have 434 missile damage with great armor piercing, so he's able to shoot in, provide some cover. And I wanted a new gun line, so I was like, hey, I'm going to summon some gunnery mobs and just turn and start shooting, and this is going to be great because the Colossus are taking a bit of work and, are surrounded, but this gun line here is going to be so powerful against the Witch Elves. So I'm just shooting in, putting the Witch Elves in a trash can here, and things are definitely looking pretty good. You can see they're down to 1400 HP. My other Colossus, or Count Noctilus, I should say, is stabilized for now. He's able to kind of fend off the threats. The Gunnery Wight is running up and around the back, and ammunition is getting about half here, about 60-70% on those guys. Noctilus is going to be providing some pretty good Overwatch fire on the Bleak Swords here. And you can see that just the withering fire coming in from the zombie-powered Gunnery mobs and just the pressure from the Colossus are able to just absolutely destroy those Witch Elves and Dread Spears. RPs are coming in, Malekith is coming in, but at this point they're just all so beat up, and Ronnie Brown is still in good shape. He's just up here slapping these infantry. I will be pulling him back down to the fight here in just a moment. And for anyone who's wondering why I'm calling him Ronnie Brown, I actually played an entire playthrough of the Luther Harkin campaign, and I had a very famous Morgul Haunter in that campaign known as Ronnie Brown, who basically single-handedly carried the campaign, in my opinion. So we summoned some gunnery mobs here, and I summoned another group. So that was my last summon, if I'm not mistaken. So we're going to turn and start shooting whatever we can. Over here, these Bleak Swords, unfortunately, are killing off my zombie pirate deckhand mobs. So those guys are running a little bit dry, but the Gunnery Wight in the back is actually still shooting. He's been obstructed here and there, but every time an opening opens up on Malekith, oh, look at that shot. That did a ton of damage and really helps out Count Noctilus quite a bit. And the other Colossus are doing great on ammo, and I still have 2 more charges of the extra powder. So even if I do start running below, really low on ammo, I still have a really nice safeguard as long as I can keep this Gunnery Wight alive. The Malekith and the Harpies are going to be jumping here on the chaff, the zombie pirate gunnery mobs that have been summoned. Ronnie Brown is back though. He's terror routing, and he has such a good bonus versus infantry. He's going to absolutely annihilate these Dread Spears and Bleak Swords and all these other units because, again, he does cause terror. He has a bonus versus infantry. He slows things down, which allows your Colossus to kind of move away. And you can see the Gunnery Wight here is still trying to take some pot shots at Malekith, who's actually doing decent damage against Noctilus here. A little bit scary. But Ronnie's going to come in with the steel Morgul chair and potentially put these guys down. Yeah, mass terror route going down. You can see all these guys are going to be fleeing right now. The Gunnery Wight gets invocation with all of these guys being healed up. And that's just going to send it to army losses as these other 2 Colossus, supported by the Gunnery mobs, are able to just take down the Dark Elves. So that build was so much fun. I love it. Like, Colossus are probably my favorite unit on the roster to use in general. I just love the battlefield control you can get, their mobility, the fact that you can reposition, set up a new Helm's Deep with Count Noctilus. You could even do a build like this with Celastra. You could just use her on her Leviathan if you're in the same matchup and just summon crabs and give Spiteful Shot to the Colossus. I think that could actually be a really cool build for sure. But if the most optimal way, in my opinion, is to go with Count Noctilus. And this build, I feel like, would actually work against High Elves as well. It's very good against Elves because Colossus hard counter the archers, and they're just so tough to kill. Granted, bolt throwers, things like that, had he had like a Dark Shard firing line, but most people haven't been seeing too many Dark Shards brought here. But if you had like 4 Dark Shards, they could have put a number on these guys for sure. Maybe some Cold Moon Knights as well could have been very threatening, but yeah, the extra powder is so brutal on those guys. Like, that was the end of the game, and I still had like 60-70% powder on all of my Colossus, which I thought was just so awesome. So yeah, hopefully this becomes like the Gelt Witch Hunter build 2.0, maybe. But the Gunnery Wight was fun. I actually think he was competitive here, and he was dirt cheap. He was useful. On top of that, the Morgul Haunter is good as always. He was able to really nullify Malekith's effectiveness and hunt him down, slow him, do good damage, terror out blobs of infantry. Can't say enough about how effective they were. And yeah, the rest was just chaff, but honestly, that's what Vampire Coast does. You have a horde of chaff and zombies, and you just win with these like powerhouse units in your gun line. So definitely, quite a bit of fun. So very well played, my opponent Deny A. Look forward to running into you again on ladder, and hopefully you guys enjoyed this Vampire Coast showdown. Have an excellent night, guys, and take care.